The river is for everyone, and that we are stewards of that development, and that it should be welcoming for everyone.
Series of studio spaces for artists to come and have a place to do their work and to show their work to the public.
We want to inspire the artists, inspire our city to be great. So.
So Cherry Street Pier, in my own words, I go back to its beginnings as a municipal shipping pier in 1919. It was run by the United Fruit Company, and it imported goods and fruit into Philadelphia. It's a 55,000 square foot warehouse space that extends about 520 feet into the Delaware River. So the space itself is amazing. It fell into disrepair, and it was unoccupied from about the 1980s on. There was a couple like warehouse uses and things that we used to store in here, and I used to walk into this space and go, wow, this is an amazing space, people have to see this. So then Cherry Street Pier, the thought of that was, could we take the shell of that former shipping pier, that century-old pier, and convert it into a mixed-use space that was created by and for the Philadelphia community, that was a true reflection of Philadelphia today.
In the feasibility study that we did, we put together a cost estimate for what a full-scale renovation of the pier would cost. And that looked at some of the substructural work that would have to go into it, some of the code compliance and utility work that would have to go in, and you are looking at about a $12 million investment that would be required just to bring it up to a level for a sort of typical commercial or residential reuse. As a public nonprofit, we were hesitant to sort of sell the asset to a private developer, knowing that there was potentially a much more creative and publicly focused use that could be put there. So that led us to thinking about some alternatives of how we could still achieve the goals that we had in terms of making it a public space for a fraction of that cost.
The Cherry Street concept came to be by looking at the assets that we already had as a city. And instead of looking to build or create something new, we looked at what we already have, what was here, and then saw an opportunity to revitalize it in a way that could benefit the entire region.
I think there was a research phase where we spent some time looking at what would it take to repair the roof, what would it take to heat and cool it. And I think as we realized that those costs or levels of investment would actually make the pier less accessible to people because it would need to be driven by other kinds of uses or institutional players. This wonderful mix of affordability and a little bit rough around the edges and flexibility emerged, which we think is really what makes it exceedingly awesome, is the fact that it's flexible, it's open, and it's a little rough around the edges.
The space really is meant to be ever-changing. So it's evolving. So as the artists become a cohort, we'll see their imprint left on the space. As different vendors come within the space, we hope that they also leave an imprint there. And as folks visit the space, both from Philadelphia and the region, we hope that they leave their thoughts within the space, and then it constantly evolves. So really, this is me saying, this is an invitation for you to engage within the space, and not just in a passive way, but a really active way. Leave your imprint on Cherry Street Pier. It's meant to be that sort of creative space for the entire community and those working and selling within the space.
Yeah, I think, really the uniqueness of Cherry Street Pier is in its design, both what it is currently, and I think kind of the flexible nature of the activations that are going to be in the pier, whether it's the garage spaces for the artists to work and collaborate out of, the platform spaces for the public performances, or the garden, slash public park at the end. I mean, again, Philly is a world-class art and culture town. So I think putting artists at the center of that and really, designing the space and thinking about them as, what the space could be, in addition to, just residents as well, and, families and kids and seniors and people of all kinds. I think the thing that we're looking to see is that our investments in public spaces are putting people at the center of them, so that they feel like they were part of the process throughout, and they feel a sense of ownership and pride and involvement in the space.
I think Cherry Street Pier, to me, I was introduced to Cherry Street Pier back in 2012. I was doing a small project here for the ownership, and I saw the space. I fell in love. It's definitely a project that I hold close to my heart. It's I think it's a lifetime project for me. I think it's something really special, and it's definitely one of the most interesting and intricate projects that I've ever been part of. The role that we played as Scungio Borse is we were the general contractor on this project, but we also came in early, and we were the construction management group that helped bring the project from architectural detailing all the way up through where we needed to step in as a general contractor and build the project. I think I'm excited about Cherry Street Pier, not only because of the blood, sweat, and tears that the team, the ownership, the architects, all the workers put into this thing, but just about how unique of a project it is and how important it is to the waterfront in itself. I think it's just a wonderful project. It's a beautiful space, and we're just really excited about it.
So I think upon entering the pier, someone who's never been here, first of all, they would be greeted warmly by somebody at the front door. There's always somebody saying, "Welcome to Cherry Street Pier. We hope you have a wonderful day." And I think that, again, it's just about making people feel comfortable in the space. When you come in, there's kind of a warm glow to the light, and I guess thinking about it, I guess to the left, to the right when you walk in, are the containers, the shipping containers stacked 2 levels high. Those spaces, they have a lot of windows, but they're basically lining what I would call the street that runs down the center of the pier. In those spaces, I think they're most active. There's usually a light on inside. You can see some of the activity of the artists from the street. And to your left is kind of an ever-changing array of markets and food options. And I guess making your way down the pier towards the water, you get to kind of an open area at the end where you're hit with the glass doors that divide inside and outside, which is a new element for building. And at that space, if you turn around, there's a theater area, which is for small lectures, performances, but it's can be just public seating on a busy weekend, but it also can set a stage for an actual event. Going out to the garden, say there's a very interesting, lush array of plants, including very tall trees that encourage you to look up and see the trusses, and might make you notice the shadows on the pavement that are coming from the trusses which we left in place. And eventually get out to the water, and I think there you're kind of struck by, one, sometimes how busy the river can be. There's actually traffic on the water, but it also just gives you a different vantage point for the way to see the city and see the edge of the city, because you can look both north and south along the river and see things you don't normally get to see.
In terms of developing Cherry Street Pier and the artists that were in the space, it was really exciting to see both the team and then Knight, and then the other funders in this project prioritize people of color and how they need more space, how space has been taken from them. As a person of color, as a Black woman, that's very important to me. And how, you know, Philly is a majority minority city, and we want our public spaces to reflect what Philadelphia actually looks like. So it was a priority of DRWC, priority of Knight, priority of William Penn, to make sure that Cherry Street Pier reflects what Philadelphia is. And I mean, we can always do better, and I know that we'll continue to do better. And the great part about Cherry Street Pier is that it continues to evolve. And, you know, DRWC does a really good job of interacting and communicating with their funders and their partners in terms of what they want to see in the space. And I think that we need to recognize that communication both ways, on the funders' part and on the partners' part, can never just stop. How programs live on forever and ever, and how they continue to grow, is by continuous communication and just prioritizing the people over the money and everything else. And I think that we will continue to learn from that and do better. But I think we started off pretty well.
I am most excited about witnessing its evolution over time, and how the artists and the community have an impact on the space, and that it continues to grow and evolve.
I hope every year it's unpredictable. I hope every year there's a new crop of risk-taking creative producers that come here and re-invite the public to experience a view into that kind of work and into the creative method that is unusual to have.
I think what we would like to see at Cherry Street Pier is yet another great public space for Philadelphians. And what I mean by that is, a great public space has, different people, different programs, different amenities, and is authentic to community and to surrounding neighborhoods.
The river is for everyone, and that we are stewards of that development, and that it should be welcoming for everyone. So where possible, whether it's a connector street or a pier park or a trail segment or an economic development project, we have in mind always the entire Philadelphia community and how they can access and enjoy that great public access that is the Delaware River.
This pier is going to be open 365 days a year, and I am very happy to invite you in for day one.